Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and I am super excited today because I'm going to be doing a new build for the old town. Yes, a massive great big tower to act as a gatehouse for the walled city, and it's going to go right about there. Yes, one of my longest held ambitions is to have a walled old town in the middle of my Lego city. And in the past, well, I just haven't had room enough to do that big idea justice. So, yeah, settled with a castle and Major Oak Hill, which the old one is over there on the right with Mario on it. But this time, I figure I've got a lot more space and I can do it real justice. So essentially, I'm going to be dedicating pretty much this entire tabletop here, right up to the curve in the track for that T-junction, and a little bit of space more at the bottom, going right up to probably about here, I'm going to say, that will be completely old town orientated, and that'll have loads of old buildings in it, some of them from the sort of medieval village sets and stuff like that, some of them from Harry Potter, and some of my own devising to create a walled city that looks really old and historic and kind of like a tourist destination all on its own. So that will lead up to the castle, being this sort of pièce de résistance right on the top of the hill, and we'll have a link between the two on these two grey base plates over here. So yeah, that whole area is going to be kind of encapsulated by a curtain wall like this with turrets on it from time to time, and some big gatehouses to get into the old city. So that is what I'm going to do today, a massive gatehouse. And this one will be incorporated into the bridge over the River Trent. Yeah, this 16 stud gap here is going to be a river, and I'm going to have that as kind of a slide outable section. Well, not that I'm going to move it, but it's going to be built outside, then kind of slide in under there and be a river, which will then have a sort of vertical cross section after crossing over the tracks for the subway and so on. But spanning the top of that will be a bridge. And it's not a very long bridge. I mean, some people have said, why don't you have a much wider, more majestic looking river? Well, it's just because it's a bit boring, really. It's just sort of a strip of blue. So I'm going to limit it to 16 studs rather than 32 or 48 or something like that. And also because, well, I want my drawbridge at this level to be spanning the river, and I don't want to have a drawbridge that's 32 or 48 studs long. So essentially that's the reason why. So yeah, a very short span of bridge, but with a great big majestic tower on the right bank to act as a gatehouse. So back in the day, no invaders could get in. Well, not without a fight anyway. So the theme that I was kind of thinking was doing something a bit like the Charles Bridge in Prague, which is a very beautiful historic bridge, which is kind of lined with statues along its length. And then I think on that one, there's a tower on each end. One's a bit more impressive and big than the other, the big old tower on the main city side. And I thought that would be a really good thing to try and recreate. So it was sort of a defended bridge. And I don't want to do a tower on either end of mine because, well, it's that short that it'd be a bit overkill, wouldn't it? There wouldn't be much of a span by the time you've done two great big towers. So essentially, yeah, I'm just going to focus on the tower part today, but I've got to make it look, well, first of all, historic, but secondly, I've got to make it look like it can actually work with the modern city because it's got to have traffic going through it. Maybe not this great big beast of a car transporter. I'm probably going to move that to a different bit of the city that will have bigger roads. I don't think big vehicles like that will be allowed in the old town. But yeah, you get the idea. And then that will form part of the curtain wall, which will go right up to our cutoff and continue up the hill to the castle, which will kind of be like a peninsula outside the main city walls, which will go all the way around here and back to there and incorporate our lovely guarded inn, of course. So yeah, that is the long-term and the short-term plan. So I'm going to get to the building desk and look at all the wonderful parts that I've collected on the brick walls over the months and years for just this job. Oh, look at all these lovely parts I've got to play with. If there's one thing I like even more than collecting rare Lego parts, it's using them all together in a fantastic MOC build. So yeah, I'm super pumped for this. So what we're going to be building is just a tower section of the guarded bridge, the entry into the old town. I'm not going to worry about the deck part of the bridge today because I figure that might even be better attached to as a sort of supporting structure and the river section itself that kind of will slide into that gap. So I'm just going to have the tower that's kind of perched on the very edge of that base plate that will, well, kind of loosely attach to the deck of the bridge when we're all done. So yeah, so essentially I need, first of all, some arches to get our traffic in, and there's no arch that spans the full 20 studs of the road section. So I figure that I would do it into 2 sub-arches, and that is quite regular, normal thing to see in a walled city. I'm kind of thinking like York or something like that, which is a town where, well, if you've driven in, it's an absolute nightmare because the road's permanently going one way or splitting off here to go through an old historic arch or something like that. So I think that is very appropriate. So essentially, I'm going to be using 4 of these, essentially 2 on one edge of these side by side, and then another 2 to make it sort of a bit deeper. And this is a really interesting piece that didn't come in old grey, which is why it's not in my castle already, and it's got the sort of gap for the portcullis, all of these support bits built in. I mean, it's a bit of a cheat really because it's you know, got half of the details all in one solid piece. But yeah, 4 of those I think will work as the kind of 2 8 wide, is it? Yeah, 8 wide kind of spaces for vehicles to drive through. So yeah, not all vehicles will be able to go through this, but that's partly why I try and keep my cars to 4 studs and vans and trucks and stuff like that to 6 studs. So, you know, it kind of looks a bit more realistic with the scale of some of my obstacles. But yeah, if we can at the end of the day get my sightseeing bus through, then that is the main objective. And that's, well, pretty big really, because it's almost double decker. Well, it is double decker really, isn't it? But yeah, it just doesn't have the second roof. But yeah, so that's roughly what we're going to try and fit through. It might be a bit touch and go, but if you've ever been on a sort of bus tour around cities like that, there are even bits where the driver, who's done it 1,000 times, has to kind of pull in the wing mirrors and really line himself up, and you wouldn't want to find yourself with that responsibility yourself. Anyway, so that's why we're using light bluish grey for this build, because of these pieces rather than old grey. But I figure that's fine because A, it'll give a bit of variation to the area and the normal curtain wall being old grey, but also because they're all built in different time periods, of course. So yeah, it makes sense if there's slightly different aging or stone or kind of treatment since they were built. So that is the main foundation. Then I've got a few of these in light bluish grey that were sent in, and I figured they'd be good on the sort of top level, obviously, but on either side to give it a bit of shape. So that's good. And then I'm kind of spoilt for choice in the middle. First of all, I bought some lions, which are very majestic in a kind of contrast colour of tan. So I figure one on each side, right in the middle might be good. Kind of, you know, in between the 2 arches, maybe right down sort of low like that. I don't know. But that could be really nice. And then I was after 2 different panel types. First of all, we got this lovely dragon one, which is absolutely fantastic. They came on 2 sets, including 6082, the fire-breathing fortress from 1993, which I think was actually a fire-breathing fortress, rather than just a name. And also 1906, Majesto's Tower from 1994. And it is just beautiful with these sort of I don't know what you call them, sort of prancing dragons all sort of knotted together. And I thought that would be beautiful. So I was trying to get 2 of those. So one side would be very decorative, probably the inside facing that way as we're looking at it in the city. So we'll see that a bit more, because you wouldn't put all your decor on for your enemy, would you? So that's to make the inside look more homely. And then for the outside, I thought I'd have a pair of these with the pillars on. So yeah, they are a bit more robust looking, but still fairly ornate, and this black will be a real good contrast to that grey, of course. So yeah, I think that'll be pretty good as well. They came on a few sets, but there were loads and loads of them all over 10176, the Royal King's Castle from 2006. And then, due to either gifts or buying errors or a combination of the 2, I ended up with 4 of these things. So I thought, yeah, well, maybe I'll have all 4 on one side. Or will that be overkill? Or 2 on one side, sort of flanking the dragons? So I've got all sorts of different combinations that I could try. And then, this is my whole evolution of thinking, I got this lovely piece, which is a stained glass window, which I just can't think where I'm going to be able to use it. And it's very appropriate with a knight of yore on his trusty steed, and I thought that'd be a really good thing to incorporate as well. And now that came on 2 sets, including 6095, the Royal Joust from 2000, and yeah, I kind of like that as well, but that would definitely have to be on the inside. So maybe we have Dragon, Window, Dragon for the inside, and then the whole 4 pillar pieces for the outside looking perspective. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Oh, and then we've got the lions, of course. And then just the other week on a brick call, somebody sent me this lovely dragon arch. Now, this came in the same 2 sets that those panels came in. But I mean, yeah, I was avoiding it because it was quite expensive. So that shows how generous that was. But, you know, it kind of has to go in the same place. I mean, I could use it as a sort of pedestrian gate or something like that nearby. So that's actually really quite a good idea. But I'd kind of like to incorporate it in here as well. So, yeah, I don't have to use that today. But, yeah, so I'm kind of thinking, yeah, kind of, yeah, that. That's my plan. So, yeah, let's get started with incorporating 4 of these arches all together and get some sort of kind of clips and stuff like that to attach loads of shields and heraldry and lances and stuff like that too. And then we can kind of build up with our front and our back from there, and then add on the battlements, maybe some roof sections like on that old tower in Prague, and then the long legs, of course, to get right over our sightseeing bus, which kind of by definition has to be able to fit into the old city despite its quite generous height. Good, good. Well, here are those 4 arches, which were not easy to get in bulk, crammed together as closely as possible because, yeah, with an 8 stud gap and 2 studs on either side, that's 12, so 24. The 2 outer edges are going to be firmly on the studded section of the base plate already, and there'll just be a great big central column for cars to ram straight in. No, I mean to avoid with some clear signage to take the left-hand route in the UK anyway, to avoid some horrible collision. Anyway, yeah, I've kind of envisaged this as something that you can go into and kind of have a look round. So I'm thinking with the perspective that we had it in the city sort of end on, that you'd be able to get into it via some sort of gate from the main castle complex and kind of come in and tour it and go out again. So I've put a nice floor in, and it kind of be a dead end, and well, we'll have to bridge that little gap in the middle because people fall over it, and unfortunately none of this is going to be disabled access, as I suppose virtually no castles are in real life. But yeah, I think that is good enough for the inside. We don't need many features. Heaven knows they don't have them in the real world. And then we've got loads and loads of connection points. I figured we'd have a sort of pennant, sort of banner coming down here on the front and back. I've got that to have a flag coming off on kind of a flag pole sort of coming down. And then we've got some headlight bricks for attaching lances to, and little grabber bricks for adding shields to. And the good thing about working in light bluish grey is there's just a few more sort of variations and combinations of parts that you can use. You're quite limited in old grey. So above that pennant on the front, which will be looking sort of towards the section of the city we've done already, I thought I'd have a lion head. I don't know if I'm going to use the second one, but I bet I can incorporate it into another build in the old town. And then, well, I need to get on with using these panels, didn't we say? So I think I'm going to have some grey bricks as if the columns are extending down and that's what they were sitting on next. And then I thought I'd copy some serious vibes from the old sort of King's Castle from 1984, the 6080 set, and have this black grey kind of patterning on all the corners, because I thought that looked quite good. So maybe it looks a bit like that. And then we've got all the heraldry and stuff adding the sort of focal point or the brightness in front of this setup. So yeah, I think that'll look pretty good. So unless you crane your head around, I mean, it's not too hard to do, but this will be the side that you're seeing less of, essentially, from fewer parts of the city. So I'm less worried about this being the ugly side. And also, like we said earlier, it's the side that will be facing the enemy. So I don't think that's too bad. Now, that looks a bit repetitive is my initial criticism, having seen that for the first time. But I think when we've got the other stuff in and, you know, the top on and all the rest of it, I'm hoping it will be less sort of garish. So then I've got the side here, just made of another couple of parts that aren't available in old grey, and I've done the spacing with some plates in between, just so when we put this on here as the end, the windows for this and this are at the same level, because if I used just whole bricks, it was slightly off, and well, it didn't look very good digitally at all. So that hopefully is more attractive. So that looks good for that side. I'll add some more round bricks in these sections, and then yeah, we can spin it around. Well, not the full way, that way, and do the other side. Okay, so from one side to the other, you can tell I'm enjoying spinning this. We're going to have another end section just being the last step of some steps to get in here, which will hopefully be sort of curved or something interesting from the main castle complex. But today, we're going to leave that kind of hanging in midair. In fact, I can put the gate on, the actual lockable section for a postern gate there, and I've got that in a nice sort of gunmetal colour. Maybe I'll get one of those padlock tiles, put it on there, except it won't be locked, of course, will it, for the public? So maybe not. So that can go on that end, and we'll link up with the rest of the complex. And yeah, that's nice and flappy. And then in the middle, we said we'd use this lovely stained glass window. I hope it works. I mean, it's kind of a bit weird looking in that it's got this sort of foot platform on, because it's technically a secret door. Well, that's what it's been used as in loads of other sets, but I still think on here, and maybe it will be held in. Yeah, it's held in, so it won't spin artificially. I think that could look really grand on the inside and be a real photo opportunity for all of my tourists. So I think that's pretty good. So then I'm going to get some nice long columns of the black and grey bricks for the corners, and then well, we're going to have to use black bricks as filler because we're using all these black panel pieces, and I think that will look quite good as a contrast to the grey, and a contrast to all the other grey that will be around this whole neighbourhood, because you know it's technically all a bit castle-y around here, and we don't want all the walls to look identical and blend into one another. In fact, Major Oak Hill, I think the walls are going to be really, really pretty, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. So I'm just going to put some of my twos in there, and just like I did on the other side, I can put the inverted slopes on next in all the gaps to support the battlements, which will be slightly broader than the main body of, yes, the tower. That is beautiful, isn't it? Wow, yeah, we thought that side was a bit drab, and maybe, you know, you're right, but this side, look at that. It's absolutely stunning. Now, one idea I had in addition to this was using a light brick, and I thought, well, maybe I could incorporate it into this sort of central stanchion, or maybe the ceiling, just to sort of light up the stained glass window. But I figured, yeah, it's not much of an effect, is it? I'll try and do it a bit nearer. Is this worth doing? I mean, when it's kind of sealed in, it will be a bit more of a contrast, I suppose, but yeah, I'm not sure it's really everything, to be honest. So tell me what you think of that. I can always come back and retro add it to the bottom pillar there. It'll be quite a reach to kind of turn it on, and people won't know it's there, but I will. So maybe it's worth doing after all. But yeah, those dragon panels are absolutely beautiful. So absolutely adore that. Right, so on next is the roof, which I'm keeping in the same style as the rest of my walls, basically with a nice modern dark bluish grey kind of base, and then some ends like this. Now, you might be thinking at this point, Robin, you've forgotten a part. You were going to put on these lovely rounded ends, and I was going to basically have that there looking really lovely, kind of hanging right off the end on both sides. But then it dawned on me that the tram is coming by here. So imagine this is a tram. It's basically coming by there, that close, and taller than that. So essentially, if this was here, it would smash straight into it. So I'm going to have a very, very severe and sudden kind of end on this side. And I figured it would look a lot better being symmetrical than asymmetrical. You know, trying to get it just on, say, this side with the curved piece. But you know, I think by the time we've got the fantastic tram going by, this is not going together, there we go, it'll be worth that small sacrifice. It was a bit of a flap and a panic when I realised that was the case and that we didn't have a clearance room at all. But yeah, I still think it's going to be big enough and grand enough, because this is just the top bit, and it's going to be, well, it's got some more stuff to come up here, and then it's got some huge long legs as well. So what do we think of that? I think that looks rather lovely from this side. I told you I was really excited to use all these lovely pieces because I thought they'd be beautiful. And, well, they are, aren't they? Wow. Never has so much rareness been crammed into such a small area. Now, on top of this, I was thinking I could have this just as a huge battlement with some steps coming up or something like that. But then I thought, well, different styles of old building were built in different periods. And one of the things that the Charles Bridge has on its tower, and a lot of the towers in Prague, is kind of a very pointed roof section kind of in here. And I thought that would be a really nice thing to try, and you could get another really interesting colour. And it would also contrast it from the main castle and Major Oak Hill. So I thought I'd go for a nice big section of dark blue tiled roof. So you'll have to tell me what you think of that when you see it. Well, already we need the camera at a higher angle to handle the height, and that is partially because, dun dun dun, these roof sections are crazy tall, but they look really nice, don't they, with this triple kind of turret top and the flagpoles on top of that. And this is how I figure you get access, or at least you did back in the day when this might have been defended. And these parts, both the big slopes and the corner ones, were really hard to get as well. So I had to go to Europe for both of those, I think, in any bulk. And for the doors, I kind of wanted the kind of wire slatted kind of defended window ports, or very small door ports. Imagine crawling through that when you've got armour on the outside, but I don't want you to be able to see inside. So I've also got the shutter on there. So these arch pieces can actually take a kind of window piece, so to speak, in both sides. So I've kind of double dipped there, which no one will probably notice now, but hey ho, I've done it and it looks good if you ask me. So that's slightly recessed in that space there, and wow, that just looks great. So essentially that can fit like that, looking absolutely lovely, giving access to the roof without its curved end sections. But I thought, well, I don't know, does that look big enough? So I also made a second one. So I could basically do that. And then there's one over each of the kind of thoroughfares. And I think that looks even better. Although it makes the doors look a bit more useless. I don't know quite how slim people were in the day to guard this and fire arrows from. Maybe it was a later addition and just looked really ornamental after it ceased to be used as a actual defensive structure. But you know what? I think the double pair, and especially at sort of a nice angle like that, yeah, I think that looks better. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. So there's one. Let's get it central. Yeah, you see it looks a bit kind of empty and alone, and maybe, yeah, not big enough. Well, it's in the middle. There we go. Yeah. But two kind of looks like overkill, but in a good way. Yeah. More is more. That's what I always say on this channel. So look at that. Absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to push those down, and then we can start working on the legs, which are going to have to be crazy tall. And then I'm going to have to see if I can get a second lion, or maybe that arch incorporated as well. Okay, well, that's all been pushed down and looking good. It wasn't pushed down when I moved it after the last take, and yeah, it may have fallen over and smashed all over the floor, but it's back in place now. Oh, can't go over that side. Looks absolutely beautiful, doesn't it? Right, so we need some legs, and this is probably going to be very tricky to do on camera, but I'm going to give it a go. So we've got some more corner for the sides, essentially, with just a ramp on one side, and that's going to be the beginning of the structure of the actual deck of the bridge. So that must be, therefore, on that side, with the same deal on the other side over there. And then the middle section has got a double set of the round black bricks. And then just to remind road users who may be having a senior moment or something like that, which side they're supposed to take. I got some of these lovely 2x2 tiles with the kind of downwards arrow that tells you, yeah, you're supposed to be going in this one, not that one, Wally. And they came on absolutely loads of sets back in the day. like 6662 backhoe from 1992. I had that set. An old friend. Yeah. And then the event happened where, yeah, let's just say I don't have it anymore. Anyway, yeah, I thought I'd also add one of my favourite yellow and black striped tiles as well, kind of a hazard warning. And that's just above this nice little sort of pointy slope that I kind of like, which kind of almost looks like it will channel the traffic into one of the two directions. So have I done those the same? I haven't. Do I want them higher or lower? I think that maybe needs to be a little bit higher for a sign, doesn't it? Let's go with that. Cool. Right. So the moment of truth. I need to stick all of this together. And oh, that went quite well. Let's see if I can do it all like this. Oh, that's going well as well. And finally, hey, that went well. Job done. Well, I don't know what I was worried about. So that looks absolutely fantastic. Really tall, as you can tell. You can't even see the panels now, but that is looking pretty good. So that will be the span side, and that will be the Old Town side. Very, very nice indeed. And on each of these sides, I'm going to put a kind of pennant like they've done on the more recent generation of Lego castle sets. And I think that will be a nice bit of colour for that section as well. I could have done the second lion, but I didn't really want to do that a lot lower down and it'd be really kind of asymmetrical. So yeah, I didn't want to gild the lily. I thought a banner on each side would be a bit better with red and yellow. And later I've got an absolute bag full of red and yellow kind of streamers to be flying in the wind off loads of different flagpoles. So this is another sort of bit I'm stealing from that old Lion King's Castle 6080, having the hinge brick for a nice flagpole. So there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. And then, as I said before, I'm going to have weapons on these holes. So shall I do one with you watching, and then I can sort of pause and do all the others. So basically, I'm going to have a pair of black lances on here. Now, I could use axes and stuff, but I seem to have quite a few lances, and the axes are going to be much more useful for actual soldiers to be holding on battlements and stuff like that, or in reenactments, or my joust scene, which won't be part of the Old Town. It will be sort of a separate setup, basically. So that is like that. Yeah, lots of foliage, and that's kind of broken up that repeating theme. Maybe I should have done this at a different height. Tell you what, I'll do it at a different height, but I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do as well, is add some of these lovely new shields that you can get on Bricks and Pieces to those shield holes as well. So they look really pretty. Maybe these are representing the different districts of Brick Nottingham, or maybe they represent sort of the old houses of the sort of neighbouring dignitary, nobles, sort of barons and lords and stuff like that of the area. So maybe that's, you know, Lord Beeston and, I don't know, Baron Mapperley or something like that. These are all districts of real life Nottingham. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to do on there. And I'll do both sides of that, and we can then take another look. Wow, wow, wow. All the bits have been added for decor, and it looks absolutely stunning, doesn't it? Wow. First of all, with all of that bright pageantry, the shields, the pennants, the banner, the lances and all of that, on top of all of the lovely rare bricks that we started off with. Look absolutely amazing. And I went for kind of a pair of flags on each of the flag poles, and then a single one, red, yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow. It's kind of like a tongue twister, that one, on the top. But I think that's a good amount. I could have put double ones on the top. And I've generally used the opposite flags wherever I can. So you've got the one that bends right and the one that bends left, always together. So they look a bit more windswept. And then we've also got, of course, the very practical side of things, being the road signage on the bottom. But yeah, that just looks amazing, doesn't it? Really pops all of those shields and the banners and so on. Very bright indeed. But it's even better on the other side. Oh, same blue roof, looking very pointy and lovely. But that has got to be the highlight, isn't it? Those dragon panels and that. Now dark, would it benefit from the light? Stained glass window. Wow, absolutely love that view. So we're going to see it looking kind of like that mainly. Oh, it looks absolutely amazing. And I suppose the real test for scale because this is already horrifically huge, you can tell. But the real test for clearance is to use our sightseeing bus. Now, this isn't the fairest of challenges, really, because this lovely tour bus that represents all of you around the world watching this channel from all the different countries, and even somewhere else in the galaxy over here with their cameras and so on, is a bit of a lumpy obstacle, really, because look at that sombrero and even this sort of Aztec hat here. It's a bit crazy. So yeah, I don't think that's the fairest of challenges. So I'll maybe just sort of back it in where we've got some more reasonable headwear to see if it passes muster, because it doesn't really have to have this driving through it in a play sense. Yeah, that works. It just needs to give the impression that the sightseeing bus, which will be right next to the sightseeing office and the old town, I think, can look like it fits through. And, well, it can, unless you're wearing silly national dressed headwear. Duck! If you're wearing headdresses, please duck now. So, yeah, that is a good test. So, wow, that looks fantastic. I love the kind of more recent but very old kind of roof added to the contrast of the battlements. Oops, falling apart. And the use of all of these rare pieces together, I think, is absolutely lovely. Now, I was considering adding a sticker to this, because I've got this perfect one for Tower Bridge, and it's not from the Great Big Tower Bridge set. It's from a really small polybag, actually, 30443 Spider-Man Bridge Battle from 2022. And I thought I could either add that to a kind of flappy panel with clips on, or even a 2x3 tile, but I don't know exactly where I'm going to put it yet, because I don't think it needs to go sort of on here or something like that. I don't think that'd look that great. I think it might spoil it. So I think I might have it, well, unless you think it'll look good there. Actually, holding it up, it doesn't look that bad. But yeah, I think I might have it on a plinth somewhere else, or maybe on like a sign on a stick sort of next to it, for people to take their picture next to or something like that. I don't know. So you tell me if and where I should use that. I'll keep that to one side for when I install it in the city. And then the only other thing that I was considering incorporating was, yeah, this lovely arch, which I could use for a pedestrian kind of bridge, because, well, the pedestrian walkway is going to have to come in to the side of this. So maybe it would be good to keep it for that, and have it as a sort of tying in that this is the baby dragon gate. So that could be the dragon tower, and this could be the dragon gate, or the black tower and the black gate. I don't know. They've always got sort of fun, archaic names like that. So yeah, imagine there was a normal sort of height wall here, and there was a pedestrian walkway. Would that look good over that? But I think I'm going to try and incorporate it here as well, just to see how it looks, and effectively put it kind of something like that, maybe joining up with these two pointy sections here. Now, there is one problem with trying to do that, and it's the fact that we've got this funny, knock that off, blibble bit here. Do you see there, which is the sort of pivot point for the turney secret doors? So I don't think it's going to go right up to there, which means I'm probably going to have to do it slightly lower and conceal that bit with a panel or something like that. So anyway, I'm going to give it a try. So this is the before picture. Get used to that, and then soon I'll show you the after picture, and if we don't like the after, that's fine, because I'll use it for the pedestrian arch instead. And here is the after picture. So what do we think of that? Yeah, I kind of like it. I think it would have been better with the dragons one brick higher up, but those additional arches don't really hurt us at all. And yeah, there's a panel in the middle there just to cover that section where we've got the kind of blibble for the turn of the window. Maybe from underneath, if you're a minifigure, that looks a bit more realistic. I don't know. It's definitely got a bit more sort of 3D contrast to it from the oblique angle that we'll be looking at it mainly from. So maybe it's a good thing for that reason. But yeah, you'll have to let me know what you think, before or after. Yeah, maybe I like it. I can always get another little arch at great expense and put that over the pedestrian gate if we really want to do it. So yeah, what do you think of the name Dragon Gate? I suppose now that I've actually gone ahead and stuck the Tower Bridge sticker on, we can't really name it. Or maybe that's just the name of the bridge itself. It's Tower Bridge, but the tower itself is called the Dragon Tower or the Black Tower or something like that. I kind of like Dragon Tower because then we can have Dragon Gate down here. Anyway, you tell me what you think in the comment section. But that is my build for today. And I think it is an absolutely brilliantly decorated thing of a million different parts from a million different old sets, looking very bright and interesting. And yeah, different from both sides, which I quite like. That looks quite sort of menacing and powerful, doesn't it? And you can imagine going to visit that if you were a tourist coming to Brick Nottingham on a bus or otherwise, because, well, it's very pretty indeed. And when it's linked up via this gate to halfway up Major Oak Hill, which will be half of the way into the castle itself, I think it'll be even better. So yeah, that is absolutely great. So yeah, not going to do the deck of the bridge today, so we'll bring this into the city, kind of dump it on the edge of that base plate and see how it looks near the castle. But yeah, I think that is incredibly pretty already. Would you look at that? Wow, that is beautiful. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely love it. The yellow and black and even the dark blue all sort of pick up in the castle behind it. You can see the difference in the greys, can't you? Which gives it a bit of variety. Yeah, and the flags, they're in common, but looking really nice, isn't it? Wow, it's a good scale, but not dwarfing anything around it, but being very noticeable. I kind of really like this end, actually. You know, that's onto the main viewing angle, but those two windows sort of really pop as well against the black and grey sort of corrugated sides. But wow, there's the double arch going across what will be the bridge. Looking really nice. And if we look the other way, you can lean and see the more aggressive front for the people coming from the outside to try and attack the city across the River Trent. Good luck, I say. So these buildings were clearly undefended back then, but that would be the successful city spilling out beyond its city walls. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, you can almost sort of squint and imagine that those two grey base plates with the track on are going to be a huge hill, much the same size as the castle one, and the drawbridge will link up with a path that will come along, go down diagonally, link up with that gate and go all the way down into what will be the old city. None of these buildings are going in the old city, don't worry. They're not very appropriate, apart from this one. Yes, we love that. Guarded in-tastic. But yeah, I think this is a really nice addition. Kind of that tiny bit of modernity with these signs and the modern traffic going through a very old bridge. I think they stopped allowing real traffic going across the Charles Bridge in, well, about 100 years ago or something. Can't remember now from Wikipedia, but yeah, that is still in operation here. And yeah, I really like the symmetry as well with those flagpoles coming out at that diagonal angle as well. I think that looks really good. And I'm glad I did the roof section and the double roof section at that. I think although it doesn't look very realistic in a sort of defending the battlements way, the fact that they could have added it later for ornamental purposes seems to fit very well. Yeah, and I love the way that that dark blue contrasts with the dark blue of this guy's barding. He needs somewhere to walk across to next. Yeah, I think that's going to be our target for the next sort of major build anyway. Well, and that river section, which is going to be a really difficult sort of slice because it's going to have to be all the way from where that rock monster is sort of up vertically, so it sort of ties in with the whole subway level, but then all the way with what, 1, 2, 3 base plates sort of deep river as well. So yeah, that'll have to come down from slightly higher up to sea level, which is roughly this table level here. So yeah, lots to sort of consider there. And then we'll need a pedestrian bridge here for that pedestrian gate. So yeah, you'll have to let me know about whether you like this late addition, this other arch over the stained glass window. Kind of ties it all together. And we'll get another one of those arches for the pedestrians, or whether it's better off being removed, going back to that type 1, which was a bit sort of flat backed. So maybe it's more interesting now because it's slightly more 3D. But anyway, either way, I absolutely love this. It stands out for a mile. I'm glad I put the sign on for Tower Bridge. I think that looks really good. And yeah, it just shows that this whole area is going to be instantly recognisable as the old town with all of these battlements and so on, and the walls and all that. And then when we've got the very sort of small, narrow, cobbled streets with loads and loads of tiny little shops, kind of like in the city of York, then I think it'll look absolutely beautiful and be, well, I anticipate it as being my favourite area of the city, but that's a bit of a high bar. So, yeah, I don't want to overplay it. It might turn out not to be. But, yeah, if this is anything to go by, it will be the best. Absolutely love it. And, wow, what perfect place for all of those rare pieces. I think they've been used very well. Well, with the tour office being located in that building there, you can see its sign, sightseeing tours. I think this is a great place for the bus to stay rather than moving it around the city. It's so good to see all of you enjoying Brick Nottingham. Anyway, as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome Lego builds. Wow, that looks great. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, it depends how much time I get in one go before I start trying to attack what will be a kind of a 3 base plate monstrosity being Major Oak Hill. I might do something smaller in the meantime, but yeah, it's definitely top of my priority list. So yeah, watch this space for this whole scene to unfold even more. Wow, love that tower. Do tell me about the arch, but until next time, see you! I think I like it.